Hello everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd get another video out showing you what I've been working on, but I thought I would do a little bit of history on the evolution of tanks. Starting from the very first one that I ever built. I was more into SVs though, so tanks came later. So I built quite a few other things before ever getting around to the Basilisk, which was the first tank, and this was built for a zero-G challenge. And the goal of this one, and keep in mind at the time that this was built, there was no such thing as CPU flight model. The only real restriction was size class, so you could dump as many thrusters and other things as you wanted onto a vehicle. The only limitation besides size class, which you usually not want to try to go over 5, was the weapon count, and that stayed true for a very long time. And in fact, to this day in vanilla, it does not apply to Reforged Eden now, though. So, very first tank, back with the old gray scheme, it was designed to have these thruster pods over here to. Originally, I was thinking maybe that was going to be enough to move the whole thing, but no, I had to add in an awful lot more thrusters to get some strafing and some form of agility onto this. And I did this thruster cover thing too, which is kind of odd. There's a switch inside that makes made a very bad noise. Let's see, which one is that? Oh yeah, oh that noise. I don't know why I did that. It's just because I could, but it basically kind of concealed most of the thrusters around the craft. But other than that, it was fun build. I thought it looked kind of neat and different, and also provided a first-person view. And one thing that I was always trying to do on tanks or anything really is provide a first-person view. Certain things I didn't know about, like the tinting of the glass here. In fact, in case you don't know yet, if you invert, or if you put some glass in a different angle and you get that tinting problem, if you go to change and rotate with a multi-tool, you can switch that and it kind of inverts the tint on it, something I didn't know when I built this. So anyway, there wasn't any storage systems or anything else either, and things were heavily dependent on RCS. So you would usually just cake in a ton of RCS to get any kind of maneuverability on this stuff. Now, like most of the tanks that I'm going to show you, this one's like dead in the water. With the changes made into the game and everything else with CPU and everything, it just doesn't work anymore. It's kind of too big, running too many parts and things like that. So things changed quite a bit since then. So the next tank I made was the Anubis AT. This one I was going for different styling and look completely, getting kind of exotic with this weird shape. At the time when this one was built, if you had, I believe it was 5 blocks or maybe it was 6 blocks in between one thruster and have an open space and another thruster, it was considered legit. So that's why I built this tank this way, to conceal these thrusters, which are vulnerable targets, and pop them inside of here. Now, this tank didn't give you a lot of room inside of it, but yeah, I liked it. It has a couple passenger seats. It was the first one that I built that was only third-person view only. And that's something I didn't personally like, because I did like first-person view, especially on most things. But I just grinned and bared it, and it was too weak trying to put some kind of glass cockpit or something on something like this. So basically an assault tank, smaller and lighter than what the Basilisk was. So then I hit the drawing boards again and built another heavier tank, the Deimos HT. This one I was pretty happy with. However, I made some flaws in it. With the styling and shaping, what I did is I put block rows in between turrets. Now, I was trying to stagger the turret position so they could all shoot over and around the other targets, or the other turrets, I should say. for the most part, this works, but this one had some unusual circumstances. One, it was designed also to be top mountable, and that's why I have these extensions here with the top landing pads, and I built a different small CV that could actually pick this up and lift it from the top side, but it could work, you know, standard like any other tank as well. So the interior on this one. This is when weights and volumes started kicking in, or actually no, I updated this tank when weights and volumes kicked in and added different storage systems and stuff like that around in here. But so this one is the first one that also had a secure cockpit. So you had a first-person view cockpit, which I try to protect a lot by, you know, the double layer protection with glass plus these grates in front of it, which it's fairly effective, but your visibility is not great from inside of like piloting this. You got a very small window of seeing what's going on. But it was actually meant to be used with this other cockpit over here, the secure cockpit, or the first vehicle I made with this kind of design of having an enclosed cockpit where you can't see what you're going and have to go to hit the V key to change your view and drive in third-person view. So that was fun. Now this one used to look better inside too, but due to other changes in the game and the way you got out of cockpits, I had to like screw up the design that was originally in this area so it would work again and you wouldn't get stuck trying to get out of the cockpit. So that was kind of unfortunate, but this one also incorporated the like a firewall behind the rear door, giving you some extra protection out the backside of the tank. Overall, it was a pretty tough tank, but unfortunately, like just about everything else, it doesn't work anymore because it's using too much stuff and it's too big. So chalk it up to another one that is just dead in the water, and basically all these are. So the smaller ones can be salvaged. Like the next one I made, I wanted to build like a smaller tank that was capable, also with a first-person view. So then they came up with this Achilles MT, which doing the same thing. These it didn't really matter on like CPU and things running these extra like tree harvesters and things like that, so it didn't really bother me. This one I was trying to tone down its weapon arsenal and not go for like max weapon count, which I did on these other three. This one allowed room to actually to remove all these blocks up here, and then below here is actually a whole thing on setting up a artillery turret. I had a double layer of blocks over here to do that, so you could basically take out the whole thing and then pop in like a retractable artillery in that spot. So I thought that was kind of fun. This tank never did really well. I never used it in game myself either, so that kind of sucks. This one over here was for a challenge again. This is one of Excalibur's previous challenges, doing a harvesting kind of tank. And so I came up with the Ravager ASP, or ASP. That meant something, ASP. I'm not sure what that means anymore, though. Like, MT means medium tank, HT means heavy tank, AT means assault tank. So those are pretty standard on what I've been labeling ever since then. But I'm not sure what the ASP actually stands for anymore. It's like something. This one was just a weird design, and I had the multi-tools up front, which is probably a bad idea on a tank. And it was a weird design, weird layout, and you had you had a cockpit that was raised up, elevated. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. And now all these past creations also had other qualities of life in them, like, you know, maybe a couple constructors, sometimes more than that, sometimes even more than one fridge. It was a lot more lenient back in the day on this kind of stuff, though, so you could just do that and it wouldn't really cost you anything. Now this one here was built for a Mr. Spicy challenge, and this was to build like some kind of HV mobile base tank thing, and so I came up with this giant two-story tank, and this one's it's the biggest one I ever built. This one was, of course, is not going to work anymore in modern game, but this one had everything, including places for passengers, a whole like extra top floor up here with some room, and I did the same mistake again here with the glass. I didn't realize even then that I could fix all this glass. Whoopsie. So that's just one of those things that it's really good to know, and the game doesn't tell you it. I don't think there's anywhere in the game that actually tells you these kind of things. Someone figured it out and then spread the information to everyone else until everybody eventually, I think, knew it. Or maybe it was in some kind of patch notes or something at some point in time, but hard to say. Anyway, fun tank. I like the build, but too big again. So next one I built, actually, it was after I came up with the first couple Creole creations, and I built this Creole Apopus, which the idea of this one for defense was having the side like thruster slash, I believe I got some storage in there as well, that would kind of keep the sides protected from the interior space, which was actually quite small and compact. Now this one again was utilizing a first-person view, and because it was Creole, I was trying to get a little bit more crazy in shaping and trying to do that Creole look. So this one's kind of neat, but obviously if you do take hits here, it's extremely vulnerable when operating the tank. The whole point is why keeping all the guns to the side and everything to the side was I was hoping the AI wouldn't try to target the pilot. Now I don't know if they ever did. Again, I'd never really used this one in game to find out. Some people said it worked good, and others, I don't know. People are nice, so if it didn't work good, a lot of people wouldn't tell me anyway. So it goes that way. So that was the next one. So then after that, I kind of hit the drawing boards again, and I wanted to come up with, now this is something after CPU came into gameplay, and it was a 60,000 CPU, not the 100,000 that it is today. So I came up with this MCRN, and this was after, started another faction yet, so the MCRN Ballista T4, and this one reigned my favorite tank for a while. I used this one. I've taken out drone base with it and stuff like that. It was basically designed to put maximum firepower onto your target using the most amount of guns you could in gameplay, short of it didn't have 2 additional Gatling guns on it. So yeah, I like this tank. This one is capable of working in Reforged Eden fairly easily at this point. As you can see, 51,000 is the cap on CPU on Reforged Eden. This one's sitting at 53,000, which is not that big of a difference. But I think what needs to take place on something like this, so is like the harvesters, and I wouldn't doubt a couple of those have to get removed. I probably took out a little bit more than I needed to, but basically this one's very easy to get rolling in Reforged Eden. And these newer tanks too also incorporated drone hatches. So that was like a new thing that I started putting on tanks. I don't even think the Gigantes. Oh, the Gigantes did have a drone hatch. Okay, so did the ASP. Oh, I guess I did that a lot, quite a bit before then. Anyway, this one's still pertinent. I did not put out a special Reforged Eden version. So if you do want to use it in Reforged Eden, you would kind of have to. You don't even have to, but you do need to add the CPU core blocks, and then if you want to keep it at 100% CPU, you would probably want to remove some things. I might have taken out too much. Maybe I could have left a couple of harvesters or a couple more of the Gatling guns in place, but you did have to take out something there. So then after that one, with another new faction yet again, the Scar created their heavy tank, and that is the Ripper T4. Now this one is based very much on the same idea of the MCRN Ballista, except this one got scaled up. There was more CPU available for building this tank, So I took advantage of that. I made the tank bigger, but also popped in an awful lot more thrusters, and also gave it some harvesting abilities with a couple multi turrets on the back side. Again, with the drone hats, same, and all these kind of stem back. These two stem back to a lot of what the Deimos did, on how the interior layout was done with the firewall in front of the back door and things like that. So you see that same characteristic on both the MCRN Ballista and the Scar Ripper T4. So the Ripper T4 was bigger, had started to incorporate, trying to keep the weight down. I would leave like some open areas in places in the hull design. So you know, if this area got hit, you'd have this kind of extra firewall here, and then the pointless hallway up front here didn't really do anything. But then you would have your secure cockpit kind of protected on the inside from most all directions. Usually the floor on most of these tanks is going to be the weakest point, but I also find that in gameplay that the floor typically takes the least amount of hits, or if any hits at all. So it was one of those things I was always thinking about. I'm like, there's a lot of blocks involved in a floor on a tank, and they're not really protecting much of anything. So keep in mind, there's a new tank at the end of this that that no one's seen yet. So I want to kind of go over all these principles on every one of these tank iterations on what it came to and why it was made for whatever reason there. So the newest release tank I got is the Centaur MT again for medium tank. I use this in game. It seems to be fairly capable. Now this is going into Reforged Eden as well, plus vanilla, so it's getting a little bit trickier. But I kind of designed this tank to be able to work with both. And if you're using Reforged Eden, you basically right off the gate you got to add in another small core block over here. But then you can add in a couple more advanced cores and then add more functionality and weapons and things like that on it. And certain things were left off, like the shield. But this one was running pretty. I don't even know what's going on. Oh, okay. So after you add in that small, really cheap core block, it'll. I think it'll be CPU compliant there. But this one allowed you to put in a shield and some more guns, basically. You got another turret position over there, a couple turret positions on the sides over here, a couple like gun mount positions up on the front sides over here, and I think ore over here, or some more reverse thrusters. All depends how you wanted to do it. But this one was pretty maneuverable and light, and I liked how it got around. So I'm fairly happy with it. I think it works, especially now, considering so many don't anymore. So in the last video, or a couple videos ago, I said I wanted to play around with building a new tank for Reforged Eden. Something that I wanted to bring in game. So what this is this is not that tank, but this is a prototype concept on what could I add into a tank, how fast could I get it to move. With Reforged Eden, you can use in these ultra bright super thrusters, which are like 2x2x4 thrusters, which are way more powerful than any of these smaller ones. So I wanted to come up with a chassis design that would first keep everything away from the front end of it, so you could basically blow up the whole front. And I wanted this thing really, I wanted it agile, and I also wanted to build out of combat steel. So this was just a test, and I put in like all the essential parts I would want in here, the core blocks and generators and shield and like everything that you would want. And I was taking a look at the CPU on it, and I'm like, yeah, that actually comes out all right. And this thing's really agile, and it's rocking a whole lot of weaponry. So it's this one's running 3 minigun turrets, and let's see, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think 11 rocket turrets and 1 artillery turrets. I don't think I added any Gatling guns on this. Oh yeah, 2 Gatling guns. Never mind. And the big thrusters, but it's really fast tank, especially with hardly any blocks on it like you see here. So I took this principle and then I designed the brand new tank, which is, I went back to MCRN on this one. And this, oops, let's see, let's hit the, wrong key. All right, there we go. I was just trying to clear away the HUD. So this one is designed very different than a lot of other tanks. First, it's utilizing just the big thrusters. So basically the same thruster setup is what this prototype had on it. But then I wanted to maximize everything and not put blocks where blocks weren't needed. And one other concept I came up with is why do I put this big floor across the entire bottom side of a tank when it's really not doing anything but weighing it down? So this one does have a floor in the interior area, but the rest of it does not have a floor. So these thrusters are like right at the ground. One thing I do need to put on here is some docking pads, but and I'm like, well, why not? You know. Also with the ultra bright blinding effect, and trust me, when you're trying to work on something like this and the thrusters are on, it's terrible. You can't see what you're doing at all. I found that if you do put these open air grates over the thrusters, it gets rid of that blurry effect on these. If you happen to use these for Reforged Eden tank. So basically this one, the MCRN-Scorpion, is this one's actually done. I built it and got a little carried away and finished it up pretty much right now, except for some docking pads that I just remembered. So the idea of this one is it has this like double layer thing over here. Oh, yeah, this area I was gonna try to make look better. You don't see it, but this is basically, it's kind of a hollow body. So you've got a couple blocks up front, and then you got this open area, and then you get into a firewall here before you get into the inside of the tank. And I'm just keeping like all the space that I don't think would have any benefit to adding more weight to the tank. I'm just keeping it off. Let me get this thing up in the air a little bit too. Now, one thing about this tank though is it basically is every bit, if not faster than the Centaur MT, but it's carrying it is heavier and it's got a lot more guns on it. So I'm pretty happy with a lot of that stuff here. So on the inside of the tank, you got all your standard features. I did put in a clone, med bay, you got a Wi-Fi and detectors right over there, passenger seat, armor locker. You can see a couple of your core blocks from the inside. I did have to bury some stuff. And then you got a shield and pentaxid. Now, I believe it is important to keep the pentaxid tank, if you can, centered, and that was one reason why I ended up going on the ceiling with it, and why I had to build the how high this was up. Or basically, it was flat originally, which I kind of like that because you could actually land like a small SV on it. But I needed to make the ceiling taller so I could accommodate those parts better and center them. So this one is abandoning the idea of having any form of harvesting on it, and it has no regular storage, but it does have 12K ammo storage. And something I kind of messed up on a little bit on the ballistas. The ballista had 4K ammo storage, and I found that wasn't really enough for a big long battle. So I upped that a lot when I built the Scar Ripper. Even this one has more ammo storage than that. This one I wanted to put it at 12K just to, it's got a lot of rocket launchers on this one. So on its loadout, it could have an artillery, but I decided not to, at least on this prototype here. So it's running 4 minigun turrets on the front. Now these are way up close, and probably the ones that will be shot out first. But the whole point of having these here is so the more expensive and abundant rocket turrets stay alive a lot longer. And another concept I was trying to do here, although this turret kind of defies it, I was trying to keep all these turrets away from where the player actually resides in the tank, except for this one obviously is sitting here. So although that's kind of in front of where the player is. The player, well, it's a little bit above it, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Maybe that one needs to go. But anyway, so this one is coming out pretty good on CPU. At 50,284, so it's got, you know, about 700 CPU left over. I don't know what else to add at this point in time, but, you know, I try to use it all when I can. Now, I could rearrange a couple turrets, maybe remove this. I could even actually build this platform out and dump, if I got rid of these two rocket launchers, I know I can add an artillery. So that is a option. And now I didn't get into plasma turrets on here, simply because they cost more than rocket turrets. I think plasma turrets are 2,000 CPU, rocket turrets are 1,500 CPU, so you can get more of those on there. And I kind of like keeping less, you know, like the two Gatling guns in back, which are basically only to shoot like base sentry guns, like POI sentry guns, because the rest of the stuff really won't shoot at those very well. But yeah, the idea is so this whole front can get smashed off. You do have your first strafing thruster over in this area, and if you notice on the bottom side here, it's kind of like partially like hollow, like it's a bit of a frame going on here, and like this big chunk over here is really hollow and could look a lot better than that. But I mean, this is just like a wall with like 3 block space in between that wall and where the pilot actually sits. And yeah, the bottom side of this I didn't do much on. Now I did have to run some cargo extensions across the bottom in this one area. The rest of this is combat steel, but these cargo extensions was kind of needed for weight balancing, and it's either I run them across the top of the room, which would be really bad for seeing that, you know, they'd be visible on the top side, or run them down on the bottom, which I don't think would probably take much hits anyway, at least hopefully not. But, you know, what I wanted wasn't so much like a heavy tank that could just sit and take a brutal punishing for a long time, but I wanted to have a safe tank that would protect the pilot, but that was also maneuverable. And that's when you with a lot of firepower, and I really wanted to have that crazy amounts of firepower in it, just so you can do a lot of damage quickly and get in and get out and just hit things hard. And that's what this is about. Because the thrusters are balanced, it goes the same speed, which is you know, your maximum speed in all directions. And I do like that too, so you don't have to like try to like turn or do one thing one way or the other way. It's everything goes, so you can just fly around and jump over other stuff. But anyway, I'm quite happy on how the chassis performs and the amount of weapons I was actually able to get on this thing too. Now, it's not the heaviest tank, like the Scar Ripper here is built tougher than this one, but it weighs a ton more as well, and it's not near as maneuverable as this. So that is kind of the fun part. It actually does balance all right. But I'm thinking that this arsenal of having this whole barrage of stuff, being able to like fire forward, and you know, most of it will be able to fire to the sides. I mean, you'll still get some stuff that will fire behind you, but that's basically, you don't want to necessarily run from battle, like face it the different direction and go that way. With this tank, you'd want to back away from battle and keep the front end again facing the bad guys. The back's not super strong. It does not have that firewall method in it. It doesn't. It's if you took a good shot here, you would get hurt bad. And that is the one little side effect with this design. Now maybe it could be beefed up over on the on this area, but I'm just so much of it is trying to keep the weight down on it, keep the parts protected, the weight down, and I'm hoping it does perform the way I think it should, or hope it should. But if it does, this would probably be the most powerful tank of the bunch of them, I would say, at least with firepower. It does have more guns on it than any of the other ones. And it is faster than most of the other ones, too. I think the only one that comes close in speed, at least stock, is this Centaur. The rest of these are quite a lot slower. Even the MCRN Ballista was never terribly fast. It was decent enough, but I wanted something that operated like a small little HV that could carry a barrage of firepower on it, and that's what this was all about. So, high concept, different ideas, trying to shave weight away anywhere I can, but not try to shave away the protection. And you know, the concept of also trying to keep the turrets away from the interior area. Again, with the notable exception of the one I've got sitting there, which I keep on thinking maybe I ought to get rid of that one and do a little bit more configuration. But I'll use it the way it is now and see if that becomes a problem or not, and how it functions. But yeah. Also, let's see, on the bottom side, it's only running 6 hover engines as well. So I didn't put any up in the front area at all. Didn't find it really necessary. Most of the weight's in the back, so I've got a couple kind of more in the center and then an additional one in the far back. And that seems to do the trick. It's not designed to carry a lot of stuff, but it does have 12K ammo storage on it, which I think would be pretty good for firepower. You could stock up a lot of rockets, but you're going to be firing a lot of rockets too. So other than that, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. So another one, I'll have to get to the workshop here pretty soon. As in the other big CV, that one I need to do a little bit of dress work to it. There's a couple things I wanted to fix up on it, as in its defense and everything like that. Let me just spawn it real quick here. You know what we're talking about. Where did I put it? What did I call it? No. Geez, what did I call it? Now I got this total mind blank on the name of what I've called the ship. And it's really easy to remember, too. Oh, the Tribucy. Duh. Duh. There it is. Tribucy Heavy Assault Cruiser. So this one, I do want to get out to the workshop soon. There's a couple little fix-up things I wanted to do on it. But other than that, it seemed to fit the bill. I've taken this into battle a couple times. The first battle, I got some surprising damage, like here on one of these sides, which is weird. I never expected to really get damaged there, but it happened. As in the front's really durable, and even after getting in all the fighting last time, and I took hits all over the place. The interior was 100% intact. There's nothing wrong. There was not even close to anything getting harmed that would be any kind of critical part, short of I did lose a few turrets, especially these artillery turrets. They seem to get shot out pretty quickly, actually. And I didn't have any artillery shells when we were fighting either, so that was kind of a waste of time there. But other than that, I think it should be pretty good. Another vulnerable spot could be on the back side. I got glass over here coming into where the farm is, and I don't know, man. I wanted to put a window somewhere. I thought, if you're going to put a window somewhere, maybe this is about the safest place you could put a small window. But even then, it got shot out. So it's just like, well, man, that's the only window I got on this thing, sort of the first-person bridge windows. But, yeah, so probably a couple days on this one. I'll get this one out. And then a couple other things I've been working on as well is a couple CV miners. I don't plan on releasing both of them. I just wanted to give it a couple whirls to see what format I like better. Like, For instance, this first one here that's actually physically bigger in size is cheaper and has more defense, but less mining drills. And it's a little bigger in size. It's physically taller than the other one. So this one I was trying to be smaller yet with its design, and I also added in more mining drills. But it only has 3 turrets on it versus 6 on the other. Or actually 7 on the other one here. I think it's got 1 on the bottom side there too. Now both these are extremely agile. Both of them have 2 320k harvest bays. Both have warp core and a shield. So I don't like what I got going on here either with a exposed power on the smaller one. So basically, out of the 2 designs, I actually do like the taller one better. I think it's more bang for the buck. This one actually costs more because it's using more CPU. So it's above that initial step and needed advanced CPU core or 2. Well, I think maybe 1 or 2 in it. Where this one didn't need any of those, it just needed your improved and your basic one. But this one's running 12 mining drills in that pattern. This one's running, let's see, 10. This one's running 18. So probably not that big of a difference in the overall mining. I was this one, the idea was to spread it apart a little bit because I'm not so sure if you got 2 directly next to each other if that's pulling in a lot more stuff or not yet. So I wanted to find out with this one. So basically what I'm thinking about doing is bringing this one into the game. I might even do it untextured for now, or spend about half hour, 45 minutes texturing it. Don't know of what race this would be yet. This might be a human thing. I could go back with MCRN too. I've been trying to get to all the different factions. Like I got a bunch of stuff for Scar that's not released right now, so I'm not so worried about Scar. The humans are getting this new ship here, and they recently just got the Centaur tank. Creole, I got some kind of CV gunship I'm working on for Creole that I didn't get any more work done on it yet, but it's sitting over here. It doesn't fly right now, that's why it's lopsided. This is a really weird concept design of more than likely space only combat CV that doesn't really do anything else but combat. So it's not going to have a hangar or farm or literally anything else in it besides a third person cockpit sitting somewhere inside it in a safe spot, and then you go out and you shoot a lot of stuff with it. And that's what it's for. Where like this is despite being combat oriented, this is like a full-fledged ship with a farm and crew room and hangar and everything else that you'd want, crafting area. So this one kind of does it all, where the other ship is only going to be for one thing specifically. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. I just wanted to do a video showing you where I'm at, see if you got any thoughts on this tank. The little hot rod here with the racing wing on it. Yeah, but I think this one could be a lot of fun. It's fun to maneuver, it's fun to fly around, and I think just the feeling of so much firepower, being able to do very quick hit and run attacks, putting out a big damage output, I think would be a lot of fun to have. And maybe quite worthwhile, because I'm pretty sure this would make easy work of most POIs. It's just those drone bases and the shielded ones, you know. Can it solo it? I think maybe it could with hit and run attacks if you don't like blow your shield out, or even if you do, and these front turrets and stuff take a bunch of damage. It will not affect anything at all on this tank. It won't affect your performance. Nothing. Actually, let's center this again. I didn't have it sit right. Actually, it does sit right. kind of fun with the whole hot rod thing though. It's kind of like you got some big slicks back over here. The whole front end lifts up in the air. But anyway, that's it for today, and might have a video again Friday. Hopefully I can get some time to work on some of these other projects. But the other ship, that one, probably going to be releasing that this weekend, possibly tomorrow, but I'm not sure. I'm thinking Saturday would probably be a better day to release it. And this one, hopefully sometime after that. And I've got those two other Scar creations, the Venom and the Death from Above. Those two I do want to get out to the workshop at some point as well. I did want to make a change to both of them, so I'll probably do that before releasing them. All right. Well, anyway, you all have yourself a good day. I'll see you later.